Josefina has just joined Team Lioness, but tensions are already rising. Here's a breakdown of everything that unfolds in Lioness Season 2, Episode 3. The Taylor Sheridan series opened explosively last week as Episode 1 threw Joe's team into uncharted waters. To reach Chinese intelligence, they must dismantle the Mexican drug cartel Los Tigres from within. The team believes they've found a workable strategy. Episode 2 introduced Josefina, a U.S. soldier stationed in Iraq, who's also the niece of cartel leader Alvaro. She claims no involvement in the cartel's activities. In Episode 3, Joe and Caitlin monitor a female target, likely connected to Los Tigres, from headquarters. Officers, posing as gas company employees, gain entry to her home, installing a tracking chip to access the house's CCTV. During this, Joe shares her skepticism about Josefina with Caitlin, doubting her claims of not knowing her cartel-affiliated uncle and her apparent lack of Spanish language skills. Caitlin reminds Joe that trust is a luxury in their line of work. Joe later panics when she returns home to find her family missing, sharing with her husband Errol that kidnapping is a genuine risk with her new mission. While home, Joe gets a call from Caitlin. The attack from Episode 2 has made the news, making Josefina's dismissal officially public. Teenager Kate awkwardly interrupts Joe and Errol's private moment, claiming she's traumatized by what she saw. Back in the White House's Situation Room, officials debate the fallout from the attack's news coverage. Edwin notes that public outcry is minimal, which hampers forming a solid alibi, and the upcoming election complicates decisions further. Meanwhile, Josefina begins training at Bliss, although she's unhappy about it. She's initially hostile toward Bliss staff, who respond in kind. Caitlin and her husband work behind the scenes, convincing hesitant politicians to support the CIA's plans for Mexico. Back at Bliss, Josefina struggles with the new training environment, finding it difficult to adapt to the open and mixed setting. She starts with drills but resists advice, relying on her standard military training instead. However, she's surprised when the new methods start yielding results. Joe visits Bliss to check in on Josefina, and Kyle reports that she follows orders and executes plans quickly. Her next training session involves VR, where she's dropped into a simulated high-stakes scenario. She's killed during a standoff with a gunman, leading Joe to criticize her technique and remind her that her only mission is to eliminate the target and anyone else necessary for survival. The episode closes with Joe confronting Josefina privately. Joe tells her she'll be returning to her parents' home in Dallas and subtly questions her strained family relationships. Joe hints that Josefina may know more about her father's work than she lets on, leading to tension between the two. Frustrated, Josefina finally admits she can speak Spanish, a fact she had been concealing. Joe orders her isolation until authorities arrive. Josefina insists she distance herself from her family to avoid their world. Joe questions whether Josefina is truly prepared to sacrifice everything familiar for the mission. As a test of her resolve, Josefina is instructed to call her father, Pablo. When he asks if she's alright, she answers no, and the screen cuts to black. What do you think? Tell us in the comments and keep watching Film Buff Baby.